It's, she likes it. She finds it interesting how, like, they're all, a lot of her classes kind together, even though there's a history. She even mentioned that last year. She's like, yeah, she gets that, so she's like. Yeah, that she's liking it.
It was house stations. Those that stopped it out. Yeah. This time, I think someone did. It just last time, it was the solid weed. That was just like what we did, like, food away or something we did. Like congestion stuff. That was neat. So the, just down there, everybody does it, right? Basically said, yeah. Other people have that outlook.
Yeah.
They place identity and it's like in family and the connection. I'm just.
Yeah. I would talk about that, cause I like that, like, one of my dad's side, his mother has been knowledge.
Yeah.
And so I started getting interested, like about 12 years old.
All right, folks, we're gonna call. I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm familiar with people that just keep going. Call to order the budget workshop.
Thank you all. So this is our main first budget planning work session. So what we're trying to do here is go through the town's goals and objectives, both the staff and council goals and objectives, and have a discussion of upcoming budget items. So looking at the schedule following this, February 12th, the department budgets will be submitted to us. You'll have a work session March the 26th following our morning meeting. Grant spending deadline is March 31st, where all active grants should, your funds should be closed out. April the 17th, you all receive a balanced draft budget from me. You'll have several days to review it, about a week, and then we'll have our budget work session April the 23rd. Formal submission May the 14th. That'll be advertised twice in the Sylva Herald with a public hearing May the 28th and scheduled adoption June 11th, prior to our June 30th end of the fiscal year. So we always open this up looking at the town of Sylva's assets, both as a place and as an organization. I've captured those over the years in the interest of time on that chart right there. But so we're looking at the assets Sylva has, atmosphere, the businesses, safety, et cetera. If there's anything that's not on this list, or if you need to get up and look at it, please let me know and we'll make those adjustments. Going through everything from parks, staff, services, community partners, Western, SCC, the hospital. If there's anything not captured, please let me know. So
Who wrote this?
that's a collection of what the board has identified over the years.
Okay.
We used to go through and list them all each time, but
Yeah. I just wondered if staff wrote it. So motion's good.
I didn't write it, but I agree.
Well, this staff was all. That's fine.
so as we develop the budget, we're all looking at what the town's vision is and what is our mission, because everything that we're budgeting for should serve the mission and the vision of the town. So the mission for the town of Sylva is to provide efficient, high-quality services while fostering diversity, communication, and partnerships by proactively planning for the future. Do you think that mission still serves us, or do we need to modify that? We try to review this annually during this meeting. Everybody good with it? Okay. Accomplishments. So the accomplishments we made during 25-26, we were able to do in the budget process. So we had a total general fund budget of $7,596,527. You can see the breakdown between through general government and other financing sources. The priorities that we adopted in last year's budget were, there was a lot heavy with equipment replacement. We're always trying to maintain the current level of services. The community care social worker was a big discussion last year. 2 additional firefighters were funded through the county. You can see the grants. And these were the top priorities that the board established last year for the budget. Some of those we were able to do, some we were not, some are still in progress. Ongoing this year, we are in the middle of our salary study. We hope to have it in our pay implementation plan. The town tries to do this on a 5-year cycle, with not extending it more than 7 years. Each year we aim to budget up to 2.5% merit, and our COLA is based off of the CPI from December to December. So going in this year's budget, we are aiming to implement the pay plan that we should receive the recommendations from the MAPS group in either March or April, and there will be a presentation to the board. And we'll budget that along with the COLA. Other issues, in this past budget, we had the property tax revaluation. We were budgeting with the unknowns of the financial impact for the 107 project. Limited funds for paving is always an issue. And then funding for capital improvements and uncertainties with healthcare costs. So these are the accomplishments that we felt like the board was able to achieve in this past budget. Look at those and let me know if you think there's anything that I've missed.
It's kind of an aside. Would there be a way to like share that with public?
Yeah.
Even me reading some of those, I'm like, oh, we
I remember that.
last year, and I don't know if it would be call it promotion, if you will, but I don't know if people, you took the average citizen, they could name half of those.
It's always a good idea.
Yeah.
To do that out there.
Question is, I need,
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
what vehicle do you?
Probably the chief of police, I would think, but.
Dude's got a great deal.
Yeah, no doubt.
11,000 basement pump.
Sounds like we got a.
Yes, there you go. Yeah.
Could look at doing a press release and some of a social media plan and discuss. pushing that out.
I think it'd be cool.
Yeah.
A press release would be perfect, something quick in the paper, just kind of highlights their last year's accomplishments.
You guys teasing me, but like, if you don't sell yourself, nobody else will.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Right, exactly.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
Got a note on figure out how we push these promotions out. Or these accomplishments out.
Yeah.
So what we were not able to fund, sidewalk along Chipper Curve, other crosswalk improvements, road work at Black Rock Creek, Main Street police officer and entrance.
These are things that were prioritized by the board last year that did not
It
get.
did not make it into the budget. So an overview of ongoing projects, Bryson Park. The park is open. We have a balance of $144,636 to spend. And we've identified things like additional shade structures, improving the steps. We've got a list of,
Tom Walk.
time locks for the bathrooms and the gates. But we've aimed to wrap that up in the next few months. Scotts Creek Slope Stabilization Project. This is our FEMA project that we're working on. We have submitted our application for public assistance. You see there what our approved budget ordinance is, where the funding is coming from until we receive the reimbursement. So we've hired the engineer, but the work hasn't started yet. Park restrooms are underway. Jake talked about the plumbing being replaced last week. Goal to have that open in April. And that's just under a $300,000 project. So the funding came from what was left from Allen Street, what was left from the public restroom, and then the interest that was gained.
I've got a question, I'm sorry. For not only the restroom project, but the Bryson Park improvements, we got a balance of 44,000 just support. I know we've got probably different pots of money. So is this, I guess, first question, if we don't spend that balance, I guess it goes away and it has to go to Bryson Park. It can't go to.
Correct.
OT.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
got it.
that would be state capital infrastructure grant.
Yeah.
Or state capital improvement grant. And it can only be spent there.
Okay.
We checked several times with different scenarios.
Okay. And if we don't spend it, it goes away. Got it. Okay.
We think with the improvements we've identified, we can get close.
Okay.
Pinnacle Park. So the part of grant, our approved budget ordinance is $1,091,969. We have 3 years to complete this project. So the grant is for $341,323. The rest of the money is coming from the Fisher Creek Fund, and it's to build 2 new trail sections. You can see in green. So with the RTP grant and the part of grant, that's putting, and we got a $25,000 grant from Duke Energy. We're putting a lot of money into upkeep for the park. New trails are part of the part of grant, but there's also a vault toilet, a viewing platform, benches, and a couple of other items that were identified in the master plan.
Paving in the park.
Oh, yeah. And stormwater improvements for the parking lot. ARPA funding is something past boards have talked a lot about. This was money that governments received during COVID. Our balance of the ARPA funds are just over $95,000. And we used the funding for an air filtration system at Town Hall, the temporary skate park that is no longer after Hurricane Helene, the $30,000 contribution the town gave to the county, the Bridge Park project, and the public, and it funded part of the public restroom project. OPEB is other post-employment retirement benefits. So retiree medical insurance and separation allowance. Retiree medical insurance. So this is for town employees that are eligible to receive medical insurance after they retire, and it's paid until they're Medicare eligible. Right now, it's 30 years of service before they're eligible. Separation allowance, that's state mandated for police officers, paid until they are 62, based off their salary, the years of service, and a formula from the state. The town is obligated to provide the benefits. They impact future budgets. There's an actuarial that estimates changes based off of medical insurance, inflation. Brad, you can just sit it to the side. I've already made a note that we need to buy a new one.
I couldn't see. I didn't want to move to 10J.
Yeah, before the meeting started, I told Amanda we had to get a new easel. No, I'm serious. It is on the top of this sheet, right?
I thought it'd be easy till it started doing that on me.
So there's a synopsis of medical insurance. We don't know going into the budget what the rate increase will be, but we do the best we can to estimate that. And then it's constantly changing based off of insurance rates, retirement dates, the age of the workforce, the health workforce, adding employees. But it's an unknown that's expensive. Looking at the future of OPEB, we currently have 4 retirees receiving medical insurance from the town. 1 additional that's eligible, and then 1 that will come off. Separation allowance, currently there are 2. We've been made aware that 1 will receive it. Congratulations. So we proactively budget for this to lessen the impact on the workforce in future town budgets. So we adjust these annual estimates based off of an actuarial that where we hire a company to project these for. Our current financial situation. So Lynn, our finance officer, is going to talk about where we did well and where we fell short.
Okay, so y'all have a handout and it's easier probably to see. But basically, this is a financial report that I submit to the board on a quarterly basis. And it's a good snapshot of where we're at a given point in time. So this one is as of December the 31st. And I thought we would just go through it. I would explain some of these so you'll know looking at it down the road. So the first little block is our investment portfolio. And so we have money in 2 different. We have it in First Bank, which is our central depository. It's locally. And that's where our checking account is. And so the other one is a cash management trust. And that is where the state revenues go into that bank. Like our sales tax and such. So you can see the investment, the interest rate. First Bank had been they had been higher. This is an average of 3 months. But this quarter, they've gone down a little bit, and that's where, with the interest rate itself going down. But that's, seems to be a competitive rate, and we have to leave so much. That's like our projects and everything, where we can get to it easily. So that's why we have that amount in there. So, the next section is our state revenue analysis. And that's 23% of our budget is the makeup of these two sections. So the first one, we've had 2 quarter payments. So it should be at 50%, so you can see what we collected. And all of them are above except the video program. That's a very small revenue. It's like $1,000 a year. It's on cable, satellite, streaming services, and I'm not too concerned about that. That just, it's hard to really predict that. So, but everything else has came in above the 50%. Then the articles are our sales tax and the hold harmless. And we've collected 4 months of those so far, and it should be at 33.32%. And you can tell all of those are above. This is one we budget very conservatively on because you just don't know. The economy can have a huge impact on that. So it's just recommended across the state that you budget conservatively. So all of those have came in above what we've anticipated. The next section is our fund balance analysis. And so the number you see there on unassigned is what we receive in our year-end audit report from the prior year. That's what we have in the unassigned fund balance. If y'all recall, back in December, I had requested that we lower our goal from 73% to 68%. And that we've had to do that several times. But what we hope at the end of the year is that we would have money over the goal, and that money goes into our capital reserve fund, which is a way of funding that. And typically, we do have money left over, but this particular year, the percentage, it's based on your expenditures. So when we had just in the fire truck and the garbage truck and such as that, those were huge expenditures. So it divided out and it made it a little skewed on it. So we recommended it go down to 68%, which it did. So you can see right now we have 72.46% and our goal is 68. So what I would like to do, this is going to be my recommendation on our next consent agenda, is funding the difference that'll go into our capital reserve fund. And I'll go over that on the next page. But then that would bring that down to our goal of the 68, and then anything above that would go into the capital reserve. So any questions on that? Okay. Then over here on the right-hand side is what does 1 cent equal to? So right now it's 68,502. That's that's higher than we usually have. That's due to some probably like the larger discoveries we've had this year, but usually that number is around like $55,000. So that's a little higher than what it usually looks like. This other is just what contingency balance we have left. We started out with a little over 27,000, and we have 16,771 in that, and that was a increase in the parking, or a difference in the parking lot rental, and the rest was a heat pump replacement, Jake's office, an emergency we had to do. So if you go on over to the next page, this is our capital reserve funds. We have a general fund and we have a fire department. We have those separate because the fire department's funded not only through the town, but also the county and other municipalities. So we keep the two separated. You can see the balances we have there. We have a revolving loan fund that was left over from UDAC money, that this is just, we just keep it separate because it was a UDAC money, and it's just a way to keep track of that. But there's, as you can see, not a whole lot still left in that. Then we have the Fisher Creek analysis, and this money, we received $3.5 million for the Fisher Creek funds, and that went back to 2007. And we've kept track of all the interest that is accrued and what's been spent. And so you can see what we have on that. We also keep track of the portion that's water quality, because 40% of that original $3.5 million has to be spent on water quality. So I have little notes down here, how much of that we've spent, how much is remaining, and then water quality interest. We keep track of that as well. So if the board chooses, when we spend, if we spend water quality, the board has to approve that amount. Like, could say that it's coming from water quality. That was just a requirement that was board that was in place several years back, decided how they wanted to do. Then Amanda will be going over the property tax analysis portion. And as far as loans that we have no loans right now outstanding. We will have the fire department pumper that we're getting bids on. And I've got some ideas on that. But I want to see how much money we're looking at. That we may, I'm hoping we will not have to finance that. I'm hoping we can do something within these capital reserve funds that we'll see closer to the time. I'll make a recommendation of what I think would be good for that. Because it's nice not to have it. Any questions? Lynn does this report quarterly that's in the agenda packet, and she does a great way of, I think, breaking down this in a very digestible manner. So thank you. So just an overall breakdown of our primary revenue sources. Our state revenue accounts for just under 17%, with utility franchise tax of just over 6%. ABC revenue, the town and the county split this 60-40. The town gets 40%. So that makes up over 8% of our budget. And property taxes bring in 49%.
So as we set the property tax rate, we're looking towards the future, priorities, the needs. And currently our property tax rate is 45 cents per $100 valuation. Local option sales tax, you have this as a handout. You want to go over this one then?
So this is just a little bit more detail on what was provided on this, on the sales tax and the hold harmless. We've just gone back to like the 19 physical year. We only started reporting this a couple of years ago, and it's just to show that how it does fluctuate. And then you can see around 23, 24, there was a decrease. We're thinking that may have something to do a little bit with the 107, but we really don't have any numbers that we can get. So there's just fluctuation in general. But and we really don't know like that year how much it would have been. But it's just a good snapshot again to look and see. And we just have a note down here, reasons revenue sources could decrease. The economy, it's a big thing. We had the Highway 107, and then last year we really emphasized about reevaluation and making sure the tax rates set, like because the Jackson County bases there, you can either base it on the ad valorem taxes or on population. And so the county chooses on the ad valorem. So it can impact based on that. So we just always mention that, especially during the reevaluation year, to make sure the board is aware of that.
So this next handout is where your tax dollar goes. You just have the chart on the slide, but the handout, this comes from the audit, and it takes the prior year expenditures and then divides it based off of cents. And these categories are set in the audit report, but just to give an estimate of how much of every tax dollar is going into which category. Here are the tax collection rates. Amanda, do you want to go over this one?
Sure. We closed out the fiscal year 24-25 with a collection rate of 97.62%, which is fairly in line with the average we've been over the last 5 or 6 years. As of today, the collection rate is 82.45%. Versus the same time last year, in January of 90.68%. Each month in your consent agenda packet, you get a report called a tax summary, and it lists by year the amount of delinquent taxes, the amount of collected taxes, and then has a tax collection calculation rate at the bottom of that, as well as the interest that we have collected. So this report comes out monthly. It's usually a month behind by the time we close the month and get it into the agenda packet. But it's very important that you look at that report, so you see where we stand with accounts that are collected on or the amount collected on. And then it includes a top 10 delinquent account list. And so each month I will update that top 10 delinquents list to show you what our top outstanding accounts are. And so the collection rate each year obviously affects the amount that we are able to project for revenue for the following years. So this is a good snapshot on this tax summary report for you to see where we stand currently, but how we can apply that to future budgeting years. Any questions?
So property tax reevaluation, North Carolina requires counties to do them every 8 years. It's conducted by the assessment's conducted by the county. It's on a 4-year cycle. This was completed in 2025. So the 25-26 budget that we're currently in realized the revenue from the revaluation. The next one is scheduled for 2029. So next, we go into the section on budget needs and services that are provided by the town. So we have our organizational chart here with the residents at the top, the board below, and then the board's employees, the town manager and the town attorney. Have fire department, finance, you'll see public works here. And this is the same chart that you all have received in the past or in your orientation with me after you were elected. We've just moved community care and updated the number of firemen from last year's version. But this is in your budgeting process because staff expense is a huge component of your budget and how you achieve your priorities. All right, so services from the police department. Do you want to talk about this, Robbie?
I mean, how much detail do you need on this slide?
It's up to you or anything you want to share with the board.
Fine, just go, you guys know, so, you can tell them. What's the next slide, thank
Needs.
Let's stay here. So, just real quick, while I'm sitting here, I'm saying this, I'm gonna go somewhere with this, but I've been with this for almost 30 years, and I don't know that I've sat in a room with people in this room right now that I've had this much respect for. It feels good to go out knowing this could be the best board I've ever seen. I don't know Perry very well, but I've done my homework on you. And everybody says amazing things about you. So, but that just feels good. I've been doing this a long time, 30 years, a long time. So it just feels good to be able to step out at a time where I know my officers are gonna be looked after. I know the town's gonna be looked after. It feels good. And really proud to tell you that I'm turning over to you a good product. There's so much more to do, so much more. But we're in really good shape. And so really grateful for my time here. Every town is not like this. I'm telling you, I've worked all around the state. And so this should be protected. You guys are the ones that do it. They're the ones you want to give the vision for the town. And so I'm just saying, protect it because this is almost like a unicorn, in my opinion. It just doesn't go this well everywhere. And that's not a mistake. It comes from good leadership. So the social worker, we got that approved, so that starts in June. Her grant runs out. She'll be a full-time employee. She'll get like insurance and benefits and dental and all that kind of stuff. Thank you for that. But one thing I want to say about that is that sets us apart in so many ways. And it's not just a police department thing, it is a town thing. Because I'm gonna tell you what she's doing today, just real quick. The fire department came to us, it's been months now, where they had a situation where an elderly lady in a really bad spot. We won't go into all of it, but she needed help and nobody was helping. And so we got involved, had to pull teeth from some other people to get them to help us. But this lady was in I can tell you, a bad place. And today we're having a court here. I'm subpoenaed to be there, but because of y'all. So but so there's a court hearing today to get this lady guardian and get her where she needs to be. The wheels of government turn really slow. It shouldn't have taken so long, but here we are. It's happened. The other thing she's doing is that we've got a 90-year-old man who is alone and broke his back, and he has nothing and nobody. And there's storms coming, and he didn't even have electric heat. So he has a place to live though. So she's going to be working today to get him situated. That's not really police work, but that's taking care of you people. But somebody needs to do that. And so, so that I'm just telling you, that's just what she's doing today. So thank you for that. And after I'm gone, that needs to stop for sure. I just came from the Chiefs Conference this week. I can't tell you, like, I took Glazier with us there and she's like a celebrity. Like, Chiefs will gather around to ask her questions. Like, what about this? What about that? She got some time with Jeff Jackson, our Attorney General, and he was all ears. It's just really good stuff happening. Okay, I'm going somewhere. Now, but here's the thing though, it stole the show quite a bit. And so I just want to remind you that we still have a fully functioning police department that's not community care. And it is a different business. It's not, and we're not just running around helping people all day like that. It's law enforcement. So, then last year we have had some really important cases. We've got some now that you guys don't know about, but it'll be in the newspaper soon. That takes a bunch of man hours, takes a bunch of time. And so don't forget the regular police department too. And you're gonna see one of my asks is gonna be for staff. I'm fully aware of how much money we have to put towards new staff. I know that. But it's my job to tell you what we need. And so that's what we're at. And so that's what I'm doing. And if we don't fund staff positions, be ready. There'll be somebody new in this chair next year saying, I need these staff. It's gonna keep coming. So we average about 1,000 calls a month. And so if you think about that, that's more than one an hour, 24/7. I'm gonna tell you, Sunday morning in Sylva, 2 a.m, you're in dang. It is very quiet in Sylva. Really after midnight, it's not too much happening. So that tells you those other calls get jammed into the other hours of the day, but really busy. Things are not like a lot of people want it to be, but I have this, we all do, I think. I have this vision of Sylva is still a small town, and if we run low on staff, we sort of lose the Mayberry-ness of it all, right? Everybody remembers JP Gallardo being downtown, and everybody loved that. I mean, I would have loved that too. But business goes up, staffing stays the same or close to the same. We got to start prioritizing where we send people. So, hey, are you going to click through that? So, the first thing with our needs is our vehicle. We have to maintain our fleet. They are not getting cheaper. It costs so much money to put all that stuff in the car. I will tell you this: at the police department, when we buy a new car, it goes to patrol. The people that are out there in the uniform doing the job, they're driving new cars. Robbie, the command staff, we drive the oldest cars. So we were able to buy a new vehicle lately that went into admin, which was nice, but it wasn't one that came from the budget like this. So we drive the old stuff. And the reason why we do that is because if we have to drive the old stuff, it ain't gonna be that old. You know what I mean? We're gonna make sure that if we have if I have the worst car here, it ain't gonna be that bad. So time has come for a drone. Drone was a bad word for a lot of years, but the truth is we need it. And so y'all, and I don't have to explain that to you. Everybody knows the use of it. It's not to spy over people's fences or whatever. As a matter of fact, that's illegal. So it's not for that purpose, but it's for events, it's for safety, it's for so many reasons. And I'll be honest with you, we've been using a drone for a while. Robbie has his own drone. He's the one, he just lets us use it for, whatever we need or whatever. And I appreciate that, but it's not Robbie's job to provide the police department a drone. We should have our own. Emergency management has big fancy drones, huge drones that'll talk to you and play music and all kinds of stuff, $30,000 drones. So we don't need that. We don't need that. We need a small drone. We also can't call them every time we need, a small job done. So that's a reasonable price for a drone these days. It's a high quality camera that'll last for. We need something major, we have access to it. So we don't need to spend a huge amount of money. The mayor has mentioned several times about an ATV, and he's right. If you guys have seen our golf carts, they still function pretty good. We got one that's limps most of the time.
Most of the time.
Yeah, but they don't have seating in them, and it's not a modern thing for sure. So Public Works has got one. The fire department just got a cool, really nice one. And so it's just we need to keep upgrading our equipment in the time. Haven't mentioned this. Robbie's working on a grant, and we won't know until on into the budget process if we will get that grant or not. This could come off the table. If we get it by a grant, no problem. Much rather pay for it with it. But you guys know for events and all that stuff, it's just a cost of business. So I see. The detective is a big number. That's all benefits, all everything for, back to what I was just saying. We're having to make movement to the police department where having to use patrol to help supplement detectives at times because the workload's too much. And so, and I'm gonna tell you, I put our detective up against anybody. We got a good one. You can only do what you can do. So we're like, we got some patrol officers that are doing detective duties, just trying to kind of help out, whatever. The next step for us is we need a detective. And it's expensive and we don't, I know the money situation, but I'm telling you, police is telling you that's what we need. And so, what you're gonna see in this pay study, this is my opinion, but it's a pay study, but she's also gonna tell you this too. So, because when she was talking to me, she's like, how are you getting all this done? I said, I'm borrowing this guy to work, why need to work 2 days in a row over here and help him get this? So that's how I'm doing it, and it's just not how it's supposed to. So don't be surprised if you don't hear that again from even then. We've done staffing studies for a couple of years now. We've probably got 3 of them done, not by us, but by other agencies, Justice Academy, that would tell you that the Sylva Police Department needs 4 to 6 officers, and we have. So I would tell you that we don't. I would disagree with it, but we could use a couple for sure. Would it be great to have 4? Absolutely, but it's not my opinion. But a detective, we're getting there. We're gonna have it sooner or later. Now, the last one right here, the main area this I was talking about. Nothing would make me happier, and I think everybody in here to have a police officer greeting tourists downtown, the bars at night when they're open. We don't have a lot of problems out of our bars, but how much better would it be if you had a police officer out there roaming around? Our patrol staff does not have time for that. We have increased our downtown presence quite a bit, but it's as we can. It's not a guaranteed thing. So we have a part-time clerk. If you come to the police department, we don't have full-time desk staff. Like, if you come into town hall, somebody's gonna get the door. It could be a plethora of people trying to cover that duty, but we have Rachel, and she works part-time. She works Monday through Thursday, so on Fridays, probably the door's locked when you come to the police department. If we're out doing anything, it takes all of us to do about anything. So the door's locked. That's not, in my opinion, that's substandard. Police department door should open anytime you pull on it, I bet. Can we do it all night, 24/7? No, but we can do it during business hours, sure. So my idea on that is, the mayor's not here, but he's been a huge supporter of this. You guys have heard it from him, I'm sure. But he wants a downtown officer. But we could do a 16-hour part-time employee where 8 hours of it is Fridays at the desk. It's a sworn position. The other 8 hours that week could be strictly our town parks because they get neglected. There's things that happen in our park. That's how their bathrooms get destroyed. The town parks don't get as much attention as they need. Downtown officer doing parking enforcement. That's crazy. I know Bird can tell you, we hear every single day about parking. We don't have the best parking ordinance in the world. It's terrible, actually, but I can't think of a better. So I think we're doing the best we can with that. But if somebody could have intentional time, if it's one person, they get to know who works where, they get to know who lives upstairs in this building, whose car that is. Every officer can't do that, especially much as we flip around. So lobby, downtown, and then spending those other 8 hours in the parks and that kind of thing. To me, $22,000 a year, that is 0.3% of our budget. Like, that is not a lot of money. And so to me, to accomplish those goals for $22,000 a year, that sounds like a good solid investment to me. So, I think is that all? Yeah. So that wraps it up. If anybody has any questions.
Okay, fire department next. So, partnership between the town, the county, adjacent fire departments. They all run mutual aid for each other. The county pays for the personnel costs for the fire department. And you want to cover anything about services?
Yeah, can. That says up our, we're fire But we also do med response, which is serious medical response such as heart attacks, that kind of thing. Obviously, RX is a big part of it. We assist with the traffic direction, whatever else the police department may need on a wreck. Also do that, of course, for events. Other thing we do a lot of, we go to schools, have a reading program we take to the schools and read to third graders, and it actually helps because we hand out fire prevention material to them and they take it home. Something has definitely decreased the amount of chimney fires we used to have. We feel like that's probably a lot of it, if we become more aware of it.
Your budget requests.
Obviously, it's expensive. It's a lot. Bumper truck was the one Lynn was talking about. It's out for bid right now. It opens first February, second February, I think, second February. The other two things on that same list is the first responders command vehicle / commander vehicle. That is replacing one of the Jeeps that we have. It has 120,000 miles on it. And I can tell you, it's not the best vehicle in the world.
No, it's hard miles.
That's the one that says the chief drive. We've got to replace it this coming year. And improvements, training around that kind of encompasses a lot of things, but also encompasses that dam that we've touched on just a little bit.
We got a slide coming on that one too.
Yeah, that's what I say, but part of that does touch on that, improves the training ground. Once is the replace the carpet on the second floor of the fire station cell. It was installed when the building was built, which 2009. It's been moved 30 and ratty with it. We just wanted to replace probably the hardwood floor of some kind or something like that, tile, maybe something easier to maintain. Don't have any questions or anything. Want to replacing carpet, is it can, as far as longevity and use like LVT versus carpet, keeping it cleaner and longevity wise, is that, and as far as comparable price, I do that with some of the buildings at Southwest Community College and just get a lot better, cleaner, healthier. Yeah, that's what I say. That's been there since 2009. It's right, kind of ratty, you know, dirty. It's clean. It's cleaned every month with the steam machine, but still. Like LVT, I think is, you know, kind of possible. I mean, it's looking at it. Yeah, option. Yeah, I'm not much of a flooring guy, but we'll get somebody.
Climate's come a long way in the last.
Yeah.
I know y'all put some out of public safety training at Southwestern, and that stuff has been a huge improvement, I think.
Oh, yes. That's what I say, something like that be what we need. Ran on that and asked if we spend it real quick, and I said, I can spend money better than most. Put it out there.
Jake, do you want to cover public works services and needs?
I do, yeah. What we do in public works is not quite as straightforward as police and fire. We go a lot of different directions. Primary function of the street department, you guys see us out there, road maintenance, paving, pothole patching, stormwater maintenance. You don't need me to read the slide to you. But this falls street sweeping, that's something we do. Try to do it every week we can. Litter collection, landscaping, mowing. We mow all of town-owned right-of-ways. There's 11 miles of town-owned roads in town limits, and there's another 11 miles of DOT-owned roads. We got 22 total linear miles of road in the town limits. We mow every bit of that road right-of-way that we own. That's done by my staff. We replace street signs, we collect litter, sidewalk repair and construction, street lighting. That's on its own budget line, but it kind of makes sense to lump it in with street maintenance as well. We don't, so some of you guys have been on the board a little longer than others, know that we don't own the public lighting in town. That's a Duke utility and we pay them for that. Parking lot maintenance, we own parking lots and we also lease parking lots, what we call the SunTrust lot over at Lazy Hiker, that's leased, as well as the other side of the Ritz lot, what we call the Cogdell lot. So we take care of that, the street striping, the whole shebang. So you want to go to the next slide page? Then the sanitation department, that's the garbage truck, recycling truck, brush pickup, leaf collection. We do pick up scrap metal and household appliances. We do not operate our own landfill. I'm sure you guys probably know that. We take our stuff to the transfer station in Jackson County. And we do compost our leaves as well. We'll come around to it in the request. It's, well, I'll get to that, sorry. Paige is telling me to hurry.
You can go back.
That's fine. I forgot what I was gonna say already.
I'll just clear helicopter landing zone,
Yeah,
anything you can dream of.
yeah, if it's not,
I always tell people if it's not the police or something business related, it's all Jake. Everything this town does. All.
so in the recreation department, we have Bridge Park, Bryson Park, Poteet Park, and Pinnacle Park. The town owns and maintains all of those parks. I'm really, really proud of the upgrades that we've been able to do in years past. We've upgraded Bridge Park, Bryson Park, and now we're a little less than halfway there on Poteet Park, which was really, really needed. I think that's a great service for the town of Sylva taxpayer. And something you guys are going to get to help keep moving forward. We mentioned earlier the Pinnacle Park RTP and Partif projects. Between those two, we're going to be adding a considerable amount of loop trails. Because right now you've pretty much got an East Fork and a West Fork trail, and people have kind of made their own loops. But if you don't want to do the Death March to the Pinnacle Point, you can do smaller loop trails of varying levels of difficulty. Town owns the Sylva Pool. We have a partnership with Jackson County. We're thankful for that partnership. Without that, we probably couldn't keep that thing operating. Festivals, everybody's familiar with the Christmas parade, greening up the mountains. We're the Chamber and Bernadette, and it takes every single resource that we have to put this specifically greening up the mountains and the Christmas parade on each year. Next slide, page. Fleet maintenance. So we do all the fleet maintenance for our department, the police department, and the fire department, with the exception of the large trucks. That's done on a maintenance contract. So there's currently 19 vehicles in service at the Sylva Police Department. We maintain all of those with the exception of warranty work and deep bottom end drivetrain type issues. You can see the list there. I won't insult your intelligence by reading it off to you, but that's the current public works fleet right now. So anything from light pickup to heavy diesel, we maintain. So the fire department, anything that's not a fire truck, we maintain that in-house as well. Goals for the future. We're in progress with Poteet Park. We're keeping up with we've developed a resurfacing schedule, which is not something that we've had in the past. I think that'll be good, when folks say, well, my road needs to be repaved, and we say, well, sure it does, but here's our schedule that we prioritize based on need. Scotts Creek project that's kind of the gorilla in the room right now, and as far as that goes, it's looking good for FEMA assistance, but I'll breathe a big sigh of relief when that last reimbursement check shows up. And that's something that's absolutely going to have to happen. We've been talking about it happening for the whole time I've been here, 7 years now, and Helene was kind of the coffin nail that forced our hand to do something there. And fortunately, we do have the FEMA assistance, because that one would be a big big problem if we had to pay for it out of fund balance. I've mentioned RTP trail construction and part of several times. The dam rehabilitation project gets its own slide here in a minute. That's a relatively new one. Ritz Lot Stormwater Improvement Project, we're currently looking for some money to fund a preliminary engineering report. I'm sure you guys have seen or heard about in your campaigns, the spring there, causing all kinds of issues. There's a French drain that's been undermined by those Bradford pears. Nobody wants to see those Bradford pears there anymore, and they've caused a bunch of trouble on top of being Bradford pears. So
I'll perform.
yeah. So we're trying to maintain our capital replacement schedule. Every year, Lynn and Paige do a fantastic job of planning for these large purchases years in advance and maintain our street resurfacing schedule.
Is there any consideration getting rid of those, like, I'm trying to get rid of all of them on the campus just because they're liability.
For sure. It's 1,000 wonders I hadn't split and crushed something.
Crush somebody's car.
Yeah, when that project commences, those trees will come out. People get real touchy about cutting trees around here, even if they are Bradfords. We'll probably look at something native and, we've got the pink dogwood right on our town of Sylva logo. And we'll be replacing them with something a little bit more suitable. Aside from being what they are, Bradfords are really bad street trees too, in long term. Our needs this year, we need to replace our brush truck. That's going to be in the neighborhood of $260,000. Brush truck was actually up for replacement last year, but it was in better shape than our primary garbage truck. So I chose to flip flop those. We're looking for a truck similar to what we have. Our truck is a Freightliner with a Lightning loader. It's been great. But it is at the end of its life expectancy and it's fixing to start costing us a lot of money. And then the other thing we need is a tandem axle utility trailer. $5,000 will get that done. And I'll add that that's going to be shared among every department. If y'all spend very much time talking to me, it's hard to have too many trailers, in my opinion. And having a free one that everybody has access to would go a long way, especially on event days, emergency situations, stuff like that. So that would be a trailer for every department to use. And I'm not requesting any wants this year in light of everything else. Amanda, did you have something to say? It looked like you lost. Okay.
Your dam slide didn't make it into the presentation.
Oh.
So we're figuring out where to put it.
Something I left out. One thing that the mayor has said a bunch of times is expanding the community care program for the police department. That sounds amazing, but that's not what we need. And I'm so appreciate his support on that, but that's why you didn't see expand the community care program up there. So yeah, I really appreciate his support. I meant to tell you all that, but we get the funds, we need it somewhere else like that.
I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
The resurface schedule and the Ritz Lot Stormwater Improvement Project. You mentioned the schedule for the Ritz Lot as well. I'm also thinking about how to publicize these things. So when people, start asking us questions and you guys, we can say, well, here's the schedule.
Yeah, I don't know that with the Ritz Lot project, we're quite to the announcement phase of that yet
Okay.
because the funding isn't secured.
Yeah.
And we have a need for sure. It's
Right.
gonna have to happen at some point. There is several good grant programs that we feel really good about.
Yeah.
Was it 21,000 was the price for the preliminary engineering report?
Yes.
Okay.
So once we get something on paper, to modern standards, there's a whole lot of storm water drainage in town that was just installed. They said it's higher at this side than it is on this side, so it'll work. To modern standards, that stuff needs to be engineered and stamped. So that stuff costs considerably more than it used to. I'm not super worried about getting that project funded through one grant or the other, but I do want to wait till it is funded to go shouting from the rooftops.
Right. And the resurfacing schedule,
Yeah, so we've got currently a 10-year schedule.
10-year schedule.
I'm happy to share that. I've got it right here. Vance Street and Municipal Drive is up next.
Right.
Then we'll go to Schulman. We need to do some curb cut and sidewalk repair at West Main right in front of, across from Innovation. I don't know if y'all paid attention to that curb cut. It's a nightmare. And Cowan Street, Rhodes Cove. And if you'll notice, we flip flop from West Sylva to East Sylva every year. We'll try to let each side of town get their own paving project there.
And is that? I don't need all the details. Is that available to us?
It can be, yeah,
And
absolutely.
I'm thinking the public as well, like some of these other things. And we get questions, but here's the schedule.
I don't have a problem making it public at all.
So I think we'll go over the dam now, but sorry about your slide. Well,
Oh, that's fine.
wasn't my fault.
Okay, your damn slide, I heard you say. Yeah. We've been saying that about the damn lot. A little bit of background. So Tuwassa was formed in the early 90s, and prior to that, the town of Sylva owned and maintained all of the water and sewer infrastructure in town. Now Tuwassa has expanded out to the other forming, Webster, Dillsboro, Cashers, all that. But when they took over, they decided that the Fisher Creek Reservoir and raw water intake, the raw water intake is in Pinnacle Park and the reservoir is off of Grapevine Lane. It's about a 4 to 5 million gallon pond. It's got a 27-foot earthen dam. And the town still owns that. And it's nothing but a liability. We don't use it for anything other than Mike and the fire department. And sometimes you guys, I think, or the sheriff's office uses it for fire training, pump testing, draft testing, that kind of thing. But we certainly don't need 6 million gallons worth to do that. So with the DEQ notified us that our emergency action plan last year was going to have to be updated with new flood modeling. And in the process of getting that done, we got these other violation letters. There's vegetation on the face of the dam. There's a intake platform that has failed and fallen in that they won't replace. The overflow has a tree growing out of it. So what we're exploring right now is, do we make these repairs and leave the dam as is? Or do we look at decommissioning the dam, reaching it, getting all the water out? The water is currently draining out of it right now just to make it less of a risk. To be clear, I don't think there's any imminent risk of that dam failing, but when the DEQ and dam safety tell you that it's not safe, you kind of have to follow what they say about it.
Or there could be other options such as lowering the height of it to where it is classified from a high hazard risk to a moderate or small. Changing the drainage, having a lower level, raising it from the bottom. Either way, we've got to come into compliance with DEQ, and we need to leave the fire department with water for the training ground. So the engineering cost analysis value report will give us options on the best way to move forward with, they'll help us with the compliance, but with the future of the dam and looking at the long-term cost. Do you want to talk about the training ground piece of it?
Most cities probably need no young. But on Grapevine Drive, like Jake said, there's a burn tower up there, has 3 burn rooms in it, where we practice live burn. Also do repelling and stuff off of it. We also have cars that we cut to get junk parts and services. Practice cutting cars. That's where we train our firefighters at. All the departments in the county come up sometimes, and we have training with all of our mutual aid. That's the only training ground that's actually in the county fire department. The pond itself was used to certify all the trucks. This in Jackson County. Cashers doesn't come down here, everybody else does. And that's done with the contractor that actually does that. It has to be done, to keep your rate. Have to be certified on trucks, that's yearly. And so they've been doing that up there too. We turned it into a training ground in the late nineties, probably 98, 99, and we built a burn tower and all that was early 2000s. So there's been quite a bit of money spent on it. It's also got a concrete pavement around the burn tower. People sit your truck, you're not sitting in the mud. And we paved the road up to it. Like I said, there's been quite a bit of money spent on it over the years. We really don't want to abandon it. Like Paige says, there is other options beside that pond. We could do a tank or something like that.
So the money that, the $15,000 approval that y'all did in the regular meeting, this is the services of SNME, they come highly recommended for dam work. They actually were recommended by the DEQ, and it was just coincidence. We're already working with them on the FEMA project as well. They're gonna tell us basically, here's your options and here's what those options are. So when we get that information, we'll be bringing that back in front of you.
That'll include the repair as it is, or taking it down all together, which is not a real option because you don't have the capability to use
Yeah,
it.
we want to reduce liability without cutting into Mike's training
Right.
opportunities and testing.
The police department uses that property too.
The Jackson County Fire Department, it's not,
Right.
is that right, Mike? Yeah.
That's the only one in Jackson County, the only training ground in Jackson County.
Got a storage container.
Yeah, well, and it's Public Works uses it for storage as well, so we all utilize the space in one way or another.
Sheriff's Department also does their SWAT training.
We need some water there, but we don't need a 6 million gallon, 4-acre pond, 13 feet deep.
Okay, so administration, so finance, assisting external auditors. Lynn does a ton of the work on budget development. So does Amanda. That process that's pretty much all spring, and then audit is all fall. So overall accounting system, financial reporting, monthly, quarterly, managing the accounts and the investments. Amanda is HR, tax collector, town clerk, and accounts payable. You can see her roles there. There are lots that administration does that are different duties that you all pull together in a small town to make sure they happen. Bernadette fills in the same role also, but coordinating pretty much let's go back to Amanda's, all the employee benefits, the payroll, the employment paperwork, the tax reporting. If someone is injured, any tax issues, all of the board requirements, she's the one keeping up with, as far as your ethics certification, your minutes, the records, that area is falling under her purview. And then also payments, and payments, taxes, invoices, purchase orders go to both Lynn and Amanda. And then Bernadette, Main Street Sylva Association. I want you to talk about that partnership and a little bit over since we have a new board, a little bit of the 4 components and how you work with different partnerships.
Sure. Thank you. So the Main Street program, there's approximately 80 Main Streets that are certified with the state of North Carolina, and so we're one of them. Our structure, there's 3 different structures, but our structure is that we are quasi, which means that we get to have a 501c3, and we are funded by the town government. 501(c)(3) allows us to be able to get grant funding, sponsorships and things like that. That's why you don't see a lot of requests from me in this budget. Because there are avenues for us to be able to accomplish things outside of just the municipal government avenues. And so we maintain our accreditation both with the state and with the National Main Street Association. They also provide a lot of resources for us. They're all based on having 4 particular pillars. Organization, which is the Main Street Board. They're the ones that I meet with monthly and they kind of drive the whole process. And then there are 3 committees. The first is promotions. That's all the high profile stuff, all of the events and all the programs that drive business to our small businesses, drive the traffic. The design group, that's kind of multifaceted. It's everything having to do with the aesthetic of the Main Street program and the streets. So we work closely with Jake on all of that. We look at doing, we did the facade grant program. All of the public art is underneath that, and anything that has to do with the look and feel of our Main Street. And then the third is economic vitality. In bigger Main Street organizations, that's more of a robust group that looks at, collectively at grant funding and anything having to have positive economic impact with the town. Because we're so small, most of our committee members are active throughout the county in doing particular economic development things. So, obviously we can't affect housing or childcare and things like that because our footprint is real small, but we do get involved on county level because that impacts us positively. So those are the 4 members. And then, same thing, because we are so small, we have to rely heavily on our partners throughout the county, the Chamber of Commerce. They do a lot of funding and share some of the load with our events and things like that. The Southwestern Commission, Council of Governments, the TDA is a huge driver. No small business here can afford to attract people from Atlanta or Raleigh, that sort of thing. And the Small Business Center, as well as Western Carolina and Southwestern College.
So administration does not have budget requests in this upcoming year that we plan to submit. Do you want to talk about any Main Street?
Yes. So we do have one project that Blitz and I and Aaron Sperling from Wards have been working on. Aaron has a background in holiday lights. And obviously Blitz has his bailiwick in electricity, but we created a plan. I'm going to pass these around so you can just get a snapshot of it. To have additional holiday lights that would go over the streets on Main Street. And also on Spring and Landis. And you'll see in the picture, it's kind of the red lines that show where they are. And so what we would do is install mounts on all of the buildings for these and get permission from the property owner. And run a cable that would hold those lights. Sylva had this way back in the day. So we would do that again. Now it's kind of a costly proposition because it's the permanent parts of it will be the eyelets and the cabling and things like that, but the lights will have to be replaced probably every 4 years. Aaron recommended 3 to 4, but we have a good storage facility in one of the bays where we store all of our holiday stuff, and so it should be sufficient to be able to keep them 4 years. So the first year, the investment's a little over $18,000 to do it. That's going to require all the labor and materials for that. There's a breakdown on the sheet and the backside of this. So then you look at it, a second year cost where you don't have to purchase the lights. Second and third year is probably going to be, close to $8,000. The replacement that happens every 4th year will total those. So it's about $15,000. So it's a little less than what we're proposing the first time. There's some factors that come into that, whether how much time that Public Works would spend on it versus having to outsource it. So it is going to be a recurring cost if you guys do approve this, and I want to make you aware that all the years down the road. And one more thing on Spring Street, that one would actually stay up year round. So that particular section might have a little extra cost, and because those will be running throughout.
How would those stay up? Specifically, why would those stay up? Just,
The vision to, you know, since half of that street is closed, there's always been a vision from Main Street to be able to eventually make that a little parklet.
yes.
What that looks like, we don't know.
But even just having, so basically it serves like pedestrian lighting in a way.
Right. A lot of people walk through there, and then there's also the Sylva Supply mural that we've restored. So it's getting quite a bit. Jake has some.
How high are these?
About 6 inches shorter than a bucket.
Higher than
Panic.
higher than the traffic lights, which are required.
Okay. Has anybody spoken to DOT about what they would require as far as encroachment goes?
Yeah.
I was just thinking, Vern, like, why, I had the question about Spring Street, but why not have them extend, looks like further towards historic courthouse? Is that
You have
aesthetics
to,
or is that?
no, you have to have buildings to attach them to.
And there are no buildings.
Right, so that's why you see a space further up by the McGuire Estate. Because there's nothing to
There's
attach it
nothing
to.
Yep.
Fortunately, it doesn't include any of the building owners that didn't approve for us to remove their electrical wires. Which is likely the ones that wouldn't approve for us to put the mounts on there, so.
So can you kind of got lost on the over 4 years, so 15,000? What is that?
So there would be a recurring cost every year of $7,888, but on the third or fourth year, we would have to purchase the lights again.
Okay.
Wait, you mean the 5th year?
Yes.
Which that's not like carved in stone, right? I mean, if the lights were still working and.
And the way we would store them is similar to the snowflakes, which have lasted how long?
Yes.
I think they're older than I am.
Yeah, I mean, that's-
But they're getting bulb replacements each year.
Right.
Are these LED lights?
Yes.
Okay.
Crazy to leave them up all year long.
They're not gonna last as long if we do. So the whole idea would be when we plug in the tree, everything gets plugged in and the whole town lights up all. And
Which would be awesome.
He's
Yeah.
stressing me.
I was thinking, let's put them up there, just leave them all.
I didn't mean awesome, like fun for you. I mean, it would look awesome.
No, it looks like grass. I like that.
I'm pretty sure that the TDA could fund, or would want to fund the first year. I've already talked to Nick about it. Because it's designed to extend our visitation in that period of time. Recurring is a little harder with the TDA, but there are some things that he can budget recurring that are not necessarily a grant ask.
So you're saying the TDA would fund the 18?
Maybe we'd have to apply for a grant.
Okay. But decent possibility of that,
We're being recorded, so I want to make sure I have those caveats.
of course.
So I think neat idea. I love the way that this could look. Let's first go down the DOT route.
Okay.
So I don't think this should be anything the board ranks as a priority until we figure that out. And more of the logistical components. I think everybody likes the idea. We just gotta do more investigation.
Right, they ought to be been through, like, they brought them back to Hazelwood and Waynesville, and then I noticed that led to Canton added them this year or last year, down Main Street in Canton. So it was two places that you probably
Those are,
Give you an
yeah, those
idea.
are two that, we looked at and talked about.
You know, downtown Canton is a state road.
Yeah,
It
it's,
is.
it's actually an alternate route for I-40.
Okay.
Yeah, so, because every time I-40 backs up ways, sends everybody through Canton, it's backed up to Clyde.
Okay, budget issues. So what can we expect in 26, 27? Pretty tax collection rates. And a lot of time that falls the year after a revaluation. The uncertainty of health insurance costs. The cost to implement the salary study. What the state sets as retirement cost. Overall increases in the cost of goods and services. The uncertainty of federal funding. We have put a lot into capital projects and infrastructure. So there's limited resources for a lot of that. Sales tax revenue and a tremendous amount of work will be put into the rock wall and Scotts Creek. Other budget issues, the 107 project is going to replace all of the sidewalks in the project area. We've prepaid over 40,000 for it, and we budgeted in years past knowing this was coming. The town is responsible for 10% of the cost of concrete in areas that didn't already have existing sidewalks. So I think budget-wise, we have planned for that in the past, and the town's done a good job with that.
Do we have a total yet on that? Remember that happened at the end of the project?
It's around 200,000. We've signed our agreement and done our prepayment. So 56 or okay, our 5,600, the 107 project. We know that that's been a looming issue for the budget, from buildings, property tax collection, and what will happen during construction with people shopping in town and traveling through. When this is expected, we will see construction starting in April, and it will be a 4 to 5 year period. I think at this point, the potential of the sales tax impact is mainly where we will see it. But there are trickle effects, like Lynn mentioned, where it's affected the local option and the hold harmless. And then the initial slide I showed that had the breakdown of state revenues that had the percent shifts have just kind of multiplied throughout this. So another reason to be careful when prioritizing things and additional budget items, knowing that there's some uncertainty here for the next few budgets. Okay, so where we are here, we've gone through departmental budget wants and needs, and now we're to the council recommendations and budget needs. So we will, each year, the board submits their wants, and then they're ranked, and you all vote on items that you want to include in the budget. So this is the sheet that compiled everything that you all submitted to me. What I think we need to do at this point is you all look at this list. Pick your top 7, and then you can do it now. I think if you want to look over the list, see what you all, if there's anything that wasn't captured that you think needs to be added, and then we can go. You think you can vote now, then we could do this and break. So look at the list and then let's break for lunch. And then you can vote over lunch. But let's make sure we got everything on here. If not, I will do this. Work?
Yes.
And if there is something that a departmental want was included that you think needs to be added to this list, let me know at that point too. We'll try to include the needs. Right. Yeah. So you don't need to vote right now. You just you need to let me know if the list is okay. And then you can vote over lunch.
Maybe we talked about the social worker on all the shifts, that's not something we're asking for. The additional police officers and the detective position that's all listed in there. That is listed on our sheet.
Is that?
Yeah.
Okay, yes, so let's say that additional police officer
That's not.
is the detective position.
So instead of social workers.
Yeah.
That's not the part-time, separate from.
Yeah, is it on there?
Is that on there?
No, that's not on there. So scratch social worker, make it detective.
Okay.
Scratch additional police officer and make that part-time.
Part-time. Okay. Is the Ridge parking lot drainage improvements, since that's pretty slow schedules, does that need to be?
I would go, if that's a priority for you, I would go ahead and prioritize
We're
it.
trying.
And in that way, it lets us gauge y'all's priorities.
Okay.
Whether it's grant funded or funded by the town.
So Brad, y'all are just looking at the list for right now to let us know if it needs to be changed. And then you can vote on your top 7 over lunch.
And real quick, I see downtown air quality study and monitoring, that's already being done in cooperation with the university, for free. So we can scratch that one off.
Keep going.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't talk about the salary study and pay information, but as far as our individual departments, but those recommendations will come, but my opinion is, they're gonna tell you that salary need to come up because our market has changed. Becky told me our market's changed more in the last 2 years than it's seen in 30. So things are shifting. And I think that's just reason. But there'll be, my own prediction is that she will be recommending money to go towards that. So we stay paid. We'll see. I don't know that, I'm just expecting.
But is that gonna happen anyway because you're required every 5 years? It need to be more.
We will have a recommendation for you on the salary study regardless. So just know that that one's coming.
Much.
Right.
Mhm.
I mean, I think that needs to be a priority in your head, but I don't know that it needs to be one of the 7 that you rank. Also, I will say these crosswalk ones, several of you submitted crosswalk priorities. So I tried to group them into paint and safety versus signage, signals and lighting that would require electricity. Because lots of good suggestions for crosswalks, but I tried to distinguish them. They may need to, I don't know if that was the best way to do it, if it would be better to combine them based off of area. So if that's one that ranks really high, I think we need to hone that down more.
Which I'm realizing that I forgot to send you one. About potentially adding a grant writer and administrative position. I don't talk to you about it, but I did.
So I think we're good on that for now. We've got so many.
Yeah, so many grants.
Yeah. Coming out our ears, thankfully.
Yeah, it's a pretty good problem to have, but
They're easy to get.
getting them.
Well, that's why I
Bring
put
'em across
admin
the
and
finish
not,
line is the hard one.
probably should have said admin before writer. Because the vision that I had for it was somebody to help administrate those. I know that's a pretty serious burden, but or is it?
It depends on the grant, and a lot of, some of them, like, we'll work with the Southwestern Commission on, or we'll divide up between, Lynn's done a lot of the administration of SCIF. Part of, we're gonna have to do a different way, Equinox we've contracted, so it just kind of depends on the grant, but I don't know that that's the help we need,
Okay.
and if so, not at this time.
Sorry. And with the Cherry Settlement Memorial signage near the former Speedy site, so I was in contact with Brett Riggs, who's a professor of anthropology at Western. And because I'd come across this on a map and some research I was doing. So in getting in contact with him, so the way the map showed was in that site, it was something called Ostinala, which was an out town, or like a midpoint between Stokoe and Tuckasegee. And I thought it was really interesting. It was like right in Sylva. And so I kind of wanted to get it recognized, but in talking with him, he thinks it was a misinterpretation of a map from the 1750s that was reinterpreted in the 1830s, and that they used the dot for Sylva as the place for the settlement. But with that being said, we also found that the name Osternala, he was able to find that on an even older document. And he thinks it's a bigger part of the Tuckasegee settlement because it was described as Tuckasegee Osternala, but the placement for that was not right there. I'm still working with him because it's kind of interesting. We don't know where this is. But there is some other sites around Sylva that maybe down the road we can look at getting some type of signage or recognition at the sites that are there. But that one that on the map that showed it there near the old Speedy's lot, that was a misinterpretation from 150 years ago, as that I just found out the other day. So I'm still working with him about, locating some of these other sites, but that one specifically.
So would you recommend removing that from the list for now based on the fact that till you get a location nailed down it?
Yeah, I want to do more research with him and locate some other sites that maybe this could become a future discussion.
Right now, we're just refining the list. Is that
Yes.
right? What did we change social worker on all police department shifts to?
Detective.
It's Rick's parking lot. Just have to put new.
Yeah, what we'd likely do is pull that asphalt, the existing asphalt out, upgrade those, take the French drain out, tear everything out and start fresh, and we'd engineer catch basin to catch the water at its source coming down the hill from Sam's house, pretty much. And get it in a pipe get it in a pipe under the parking lot, dump it into an existing box that belongs to the DOT on the right-hand side of Main Street, and then get that water out, because it's running underneath the asphalt right now.
Brad? Don't you ask for a motion to recess, then we can get lunch together. Then the board can keep working on the priorities.
I would entertain a motion that we recess for lunch and have lunch together and come back and work on the priorities. Anybody want to discuss that? All in favor, raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
That passes. Get you some chicken salad recess.
What do we got for?
30 minutes maybe? Can we